Hey guys, welcome to Trans Talk for Men, the show for trans-attracted men. I'm Eric with my co-host Chris, and little news off the start right there is I've just decided to shorten up that intro because I can never fucking get it right when it's a long paragraph, and I've decided, fuck it, I'm going to give up, and if you don't know what trans-attracted men is, or if you can't figure out what Trans Talk for Men is, probably not the show for you. Having said all that, my fucking landlord, Chris, woke my ass up super fucking early. Well, not super fucking early, but earlier than I would like to be woken up the other day. So there's a dead tree branch hanging over our driveway and where we park, because my landlord lives next door to me.
Okay.
There's a dead tree branch hanging over there, and there's 3 cars parking, and it's been dead for about a month now and needs to fall or be cut. And she finally got a quote on it and had some people come and cut it, except for, let's see, she cut it yesterday morning, so that was Tuesday. So on Monday, she texts Natalie and I at like 11 at night, and she's like, oh, hey, can you move your cars? Because the tree cutters are going to be here between 7:30 and 8. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? So I went and moved my car, but I'm like, why couldn't she schedule this for 10 o'clock when everybody's gone and they can have full range? So we move our cars out of the way, and I'm sleeping that morning. I hear the tree guys setting up in the morning, but they're not super loud, so they don't bother me. And then all of a sudden, this fucking knock at my door, and there's a guy who's like, hi, this is James from Tree Cutting Professionals. Can we get you to move your vehicles? And I'm like, how about fuck off, because I'm sleeping. I just don't like to be woken up. That's the moral of that story, is don't fucking wake me up when I'm sleeping.
Hey, so, that's how it normally rolls though, man. Those guys get started early.
I don't care if they get started early. I get started late. Go cut somebody else's tree down.
Dude, it is so hard to sleep through that shit too.
Yeah, go cut somebody else's tree.
You try to go to sleep through it and it just doesn't fucking work.
No, not at all.
It's the worst.
Like, I don't know why they have to do it so fucking early. Normal people are sleeping. I know they're big tree lumbermen and they have to be real strong and have their beards and stuff like that, even though I have a beard. But,
we both got, you have a real beard. I have what they call in the Urban Dictionary a struggle beard.
What's a struggle beard?
A struggle beard is, you ever see those guys that try to grow beards, but like the mustache and the rest of the beard don't 100% connect, and it's not like really thick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a struggle beard, so to speak. So
mine's not.
I keep it low cut.
Thick.
I'm in hobo mode right now, but usually if I have something nice like an interview or a wedding to attend, I'll trim it down and the struggle will be much less. But
mine's not super thick by any means, but I do grow a pretty okay goatee. So
definitely.
But yeah, so real quick back to the tree story, and then we can move on to something else real quick and whatnot, and then we can tell the guys the exciting news of today's episode. But so I go out there in the morning to move my car yet again, actually both my cars, and I'm looking at these guys, and like I said, it is a tree branch. Like, if I had a 30-foot ladder, I could have gone up there with a pair of fucking brush cutters and cut the fucking thing down, and it would have been fine. Like, it was big enough that if it fell on a car, it would do damage, but that was about it. Like, barely big enough. So I go out there, and they've got a crew of like 13 guys. And I'm like, so you're just paying 9 of them to stand around and watch the other 4 work? Like, no wonder a branch costs $350 fucking bucks. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, you guys woke me up and you're doing this job like a bunch of assholes. So, don't wake me up. That's the moral of that story.
Hey, at least it was a weekday.
That's true.
Nothing's worse than having your sleep-in morning ruined by yard crews.
I'll definitely give that to you, that it's better than sleeping. If they showed up at 7:30 on a Saturday or Sunday, I'd probably go get my own chainsaw and go fight them. But we'd have a chainsaw battle. I wake up at 8:15 to work out anyway. But I'm like, don't fuck with my sleep. I'm like, give me that 45 minutes. Don't fuck with it. I spent the whole day grumpy because of it.
I feel you.
Yeah,
it takes me half the day to get rid of the grump. Everybody at my job knows, don't fuck with Chris when he first get in. Like, that is not the time to talk.
Yeah, that's.
I need at least an hour for my whole personality to wake up.
Well, see, that's one of the bonus things about my job is that I just go to work, get in my truck, and I don't have to talk to a fucking soul for hours on end.
I kind of hate my job right now because I'm very close to like not working here anymore. So it's just like I come in and I don't care, and I'm just like, oh my god, will this day just fucking end?
Oh yeah, oh no, it's the exact same for me because next Thursday I'm done with my job.
Oh, cool.
And when you guys hear this, the people who are listening out there, I'm talking about you, Rel, and everybody else whose name.
And all the homies from the Discord.
Yeah, everybody else I'm forgetting of. So Noah, Rel, Andre, Apollo, all those good people. Anyway, yeah, I'll have quit the job by the time you hear it. But yeah, no, I'm closing in on the end too. So I am just chomping at the fucking bit. I just get in my truck and I go, I don't want to do this. I'm like, I could find the nearest ditch and dump all the packages in a ditch and call it a day. I'm not going to. For anybody listening from the FBI, I'm not going to tamper with packages. Don't arrest me. I don't want to be arrested. I'm too beautiful to be arrested. How about you, Chris? Any random news before we get into it?
Nah, man, I'm just chilling out here, enjoying life in Denver for the limited amount of time I'm still out here.
Yep, that's right. Yep, and then you're moving out to Houston, right?
Houston, H-Town?
And that's on the beach, isn't it?
Close to it.
Close
it's about
enough.
an hour away from the Gulf of Mexico, so
Well, that ain't
I'm
bad at
definitely
all.
looking forward to catching some cruises. So I can catch some cheap deals on like Groupon or somewhere else for a cruise. Then I don't have to pay for airfare. I just fucking drive down there and leave my car for a weekend. Love it.
Groupon cruises.
I've never been on a cruise before. Oh yeah, no, they got deals on Groupon, man. Don't sleep on it.
Well, I'm gonna say is a Groupon cruise a good cruise? To me, that's like the Costco of cruises.
Well, I don't know, but I would say I'm also in this other like travel. I forget the name of it. It's something you pay a monthly fee and then you get like amazing deals on all sorts of vacations around the world. And I've been doing it for like, I don't know, 6 months now, and I haven't taken one trip because I've been saving my money for moving. So
well, you'll have to give me the app later.
Yeah, I have to tell you what it is, but it's like stupid fucking deals. So.
I need my international travel. It is killing me. My fucking passport has expired. And I'm like, no. Man, I miss being abroad. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So, guys, we have a very special guest today. Our guest is Madë Beautiful. Madë.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving us the honor of speaking with you. We're going to talk to you about all sorts of things. Now, Madë, what is it that you do? Why did we bring you onto this? Now, of course, I could go through it and I could be like, oh, Madë does such and such a thing, but I'd rather you say it in your words.
Great. So what I do is I facilitate and coordinate safe spaces for trans and what we call trans amours to meet, make friends, and basically generally exist.
Mm-hmm.
I do that both in Denver, and we're moving up to New York City this next month.
Oh, so you're gonna stop doing this in Denver, or are you gonna keep going in Denver?
Expand.
Okay, so you're gonna have a Denver branch and a New York branch.
Yes.
And where will your New York branch be located?
So far, the current location we're working with is in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yes, there's a lot of young, radical, inclusive parties and spaces and people that live there.
Mm-hmm.
So creating an accessible space in Brooklyn feels like a good first step. Obviously, when you're looking at other events similar to mine, they're typically targeted towards more Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we'll get more into that later.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely talk about that later. I actually like Brooklyn quite a lot. Plus, you have the boardwalk at Brooklyn.
Gorgeous. Absolutely.
And that would be a great party location if there's not already.
I'll put that on my travel list. Never been.
What's that?
I said I'll put that on my travel list. I've never been.
Yeah,
I haven't been to New York yet, so
it's really cool.
It's on my list.
There's a lot of cool graffiti in Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah.
And street art, and also always fly into Newark. Never fly into LaGuardia.
Really?
Yeah, they're doing an insane amount of renovations, and it's a complete and total disaster.
Oh, see, really? Because when I was there, not but a few months ago, I flew into LaGuardia and it was all right.
Did you fly out of LaGuardia?
I don't remember. Probably.
Probably. Maybe I just got them on a bad day then.
Well, it could be. I mean, they might have started renovations right afterwards because it's been a few months. But so yeah, do Newark.
I'll roll with Maddie on this. LaGuardia, get your stuff together.
Yeah,
do
and
better.
Newark is closer to Brooklyn, so it's a shorter Uber.
Oh, okay. See, now that
Pro tip.
that's helpful. Now,
Chris,
how,
what are
is
you
that
what are you
closer
talking
to
about?
Manhattan or no?
Hmm?
Is that closer to like Manhattan too, or?
Oh, it's not
Newark?
far. It's just a couple stops.
No, it's kind of 50-50 when it comes to Manhattan, depending on the part of Manhattan that you're going to.
Okay.
If you're going to the top or the bottom, really.
Just take the choo-choo. It'll take you there.
Choo-choo.
Yes.
The choo-choo, the above-ground choo-choo.
I don't know, man. Like Hollywood has made it seem like the choo-choo is populated by thugs looking to like beat up tourists or something.
It's
No, it's
not.
mostly populated by Spider-Man, superheroes, and
Well, I know the
mutants.
Ninja Turtles will help me out, but
Yeah, see, yeah. Well, so will Spider-Man. Spider-Man protects everybody.
I don't think he's in our universe anymore. So
Oh, yeah.
we can't count on
read,
him, man. He's gone.
I read your
He is
tweet.
gone, children.
But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, Chris, don't fucking bash on LaGuardia for being under construction when you live out in Colorado that has, like, the biggest construction airport ever.
Oh, well, they fixed it up. They're good now.
Okay.
No, they're still doing
DIA
stuff on there. Yeah.
is here's the tea.
Hmm.
The people who are doing the construction and the people who are doing the budget are not seeing eye to eye, so they're in a standstill right now. And I just landed in DIA like a week ago, and I've been picking up friends for my birthday weekend all weekend at DIA,
Mm-hmm.
and it is crazy busy and crazy messy because they stopped it, and I'm super shocked, and I really hope that they can pull together before the holiday season. As someone who travels to that airport literally multiple times every month,
You have clear?
it's crazy. No,
Get clear,
I
I'm
know I
telling
need to
you.
get clear.
Clear
Well,
is the truth.
Maddie,
It will
I'm going to have
you.
I'm going to have to correct you on that whole not seeing eye to eye thing because I've read some pretty legitimate sources that say it's the Illuminati. So,
Oh, well, I mean,
Isn't there like some tunnel or something beneath the airport?
oh
or-
yeah, there's that's where they keep the
I heard
lizard
some rumor
people,
like that. I'm
and
not
it
a
goes to
local,
Area
but-
51. And
I'm not saying that I was directly hired by the Illuminati to speak about and to redirect the attention from what's really going on, but it's definitely a contract debate.
I'm just saying pyramid with an eye. That's all I'm just saying. You know.
Jay-Z's involved.
I was going to
Eyeball.
say Beyonce
So-
herself.
Yes, Queen Bee. Love you, Queen Bee.
Thanks
Who
for
are we
buying the
talking
Denver
about?
airport and remodeling it.
I'm just Beyonce. We
Oh,
love
yeah.
Beyonce. She's
Yeah,
married to
yeah.
Jay-Z, who was allegedly associated with the Illuminati.
Oh, is
Well,
he?
yeah.
She's
I
richer
didn't know
than he
that.
is.
You know I
She
don't
is?
keep up with that shit.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it's Queen Bee. Well, shit. I've been down with her ever since.
Yeah,
Can you pay
it's
my
not
bills?
King Z.
Yeah, that's right. That is true.
It's Queen Bee.
That is true. We don't say King. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, because from what I understand, Jay-Z isn't shit compared to Beyonce.
Oh, he's so overrated.
I mean, you
I
know Beyonce's way more hung than he is.
Oh,
We'll get into that later too.
for sure. Well, yeah,
How hung
let's,
Beyonce is. You heard it here first, folks. God, I feel like Alex Jones now. Oh, let me tell you that Beyonce has a penis.
While he looks at pictures of Marissa Minks.
Yeah, that's it. Marissa Minks. I couldn't remember who it was. I was like,
Oh, yeah, that's who it was.
I'm like, who the fuck was it? Because I was actually talking to somebody about that the other day, and I'm like, who was it? I'm like, it was. I was on M, but I couldn't figure out who it was.
Yeah, she's like the resident house. Like, always, whenever I think of Marissa Minks, I think of like the Desperate Housewife. Like, she seems like she's in that perfect age demographic where she's just like, I'm drinking wine all day and I'm enjoying life and I'm just chilling.
Really?
I'm spending all my days out by the pool and I drink wine. And then I have sex with pool boys.
When I think of Marissa Minks, I don't think of Marissa Minks. So,
That's hilarious.
I like it.
anyway, let's get into it. So we're
Yep.
going to actually make this an interview, not just the three of us talking about the Illuminati. Maddie, we've got some questions for you. Now, you've seen these questions. You've okayed these questions. I'm just giving that to the guys. So if they seem random fire or whatever, we've already established this. That's right, guys. We actually have some sort of a loose script going on here, which we never have because I'm too lazy to write one.
It arrived as a tight script.
Oh, so tight, but it's loose now. We took care of that. The three of us tag teaming. I like that joke. That's good. God, it's a good script. All right, Maddie. I'm gonna ask some questions about yourself. I want to know. I want to. We both Chris and I want to know more about you, but our audience will want to know more about you, and the reason that is because our audience is, as you talk, as you mentioned before, there's trans amorous men or trans amour or however the fuck it's pronounced. I'm not French. Or as we say on here, trans attracted men, which is fairly equivalent from
6
what I
of one,
understand.
half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the men that we're trying to reach through the podcast are oftentimes inexperienced with these sort of things, in that they see pornography and they have these fantasies, but they are unaware of what real trans women are like. And so we try to shed light on that through all aspects, through dating, through talking, through interviews, through a person's personal story. We had my girlfriend Natalie on, and I asked her about her personal journey and stuff like that. So I feel like the more information we can give about these sort of things, it helps illuminate this world for these guys, and therefore makes them better allies and more successful in finding love and dating and being genuinely good people and not just weird internet behind the wall sort of folk.
That sounds like an incredible intention.
Yeah, that's what
Good
we're
people
trying.
and not weird internet.
That's what we try. Well, that's what we try to do, and I don't want to get too much into what we do. But when we came up with the idea for Trans Talk for Men, it was Chris and I both met, and we said we both like trans women, and that's how we got the foot in the door. But then we became friends, and then we talked about it, and we talked about how there's really no community for guys to come together to support other guys who are attracted to trans women, and how can we build upon that while at the same time speaking directly to the guys in the way that other men can. Because I'm not saying that trans women of course can't be advocates, because of course they can, and that's why we have them on the show and we talk to them, and we want to show these people real people, but we also want to be like, bruh, you got to do it this way, bruh. Because we're bras that way. This is how we usually do the podcast. We're like, hey, brah, what's going on?
If that's how bras bra, I'm all about y'all brawn.
Well, we bra so hard, brah.
Yeah, cool.
Brah. Okay, so Maddie, when did you first know that you were trans?
Well, I think the best way to answer something like that is when you see yourself in your community and you see a very diverse community, then you have the ability to self-actualize and discover yourself. And what I mean by that is I moved to Los Angeles when I was 18, and I was working as a makeup artist and costume designer.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to be a production designer. And when you work with super creative, super talented people in literally Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
you start to see that questions that were burning you so hard at one point in your life seemed less and less important, and that opened up the opportunity and freedom to express yourself. So while I was obviously a super queer, raging, homosexual queen, stage entertainstress,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have the safety and access to present how I wanted to on a day-to-day basis until I moved to Los Angeles. And I could see that there was so many different types of people there that nobody would even notice someone who's 6'5", 185 pounds with long purple hair extensions and platform boots.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a normal thing in a city that is film and entertainment for its culture. So I'd say yes, when I had the opportunity to be around a nonviolent space.
So
Not even just like an accepting space, but a space where people weren't violent.
well, it sounds more than nonviolence to me. It sounds almost like you needed a space where you could almost be invisible to experiment with yourself and who you are and your image, in the sense that people see you certainly, but nobody really cares. That's sort
Absolutely.
of what it sounds like to me.
And being different doesn't threaten people the way it does where
Right,
when you're
right.
at a different part of the country where being the same is so vital.
I understand that.
Mhm.
So did you, when you said you were, before you transitioned, that you were a raging stage homosexual and stuff like that?
Yeah, I performed in drag for many, many years.
Oh yeah, I mean, we understand where you're coming from. Did you do that because it was the closest you could get to how you were feeling, or because it was sort of that over the top personification that let you get a little bit of you out safely?
So there's two answers. That's like a two-part answer.
Mhm.
The first part is drag spaces specifically. I'm not talking about gay bars, but spaces where drag is encouraged is also typically inclusive to trans people.
Mhm.
So that's a great space to, as a non-binary or gender fluid person, to get your toes wet in your community, so to speak. And the second part of that answer was,
Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have time for your second part of the answer.
all
We gotta
right.
move
Thanks
on.
for having me today, everyone.
Yep.
It was a blast. I hope you learned a lot.
I'm kidding. Continue on.
No, of course. Let's see. What was I saying?
Oh, you said get your feet wet in that space. The
Yes.
second part.
And let's see. Oh, my mind just derailed. We're just too funny of a group.
I totally threw you off. That was my.
That's okay.
That was
We'll blame
my
it on
mistake.
that, not because I'm. It is.
No, it was absolutely me throwing you off for a quick
Did you finish one of those?
a quick
yeah,
gag.
I actually finished the second one of these coffees, so I'm basically super focused.
Good Lord, you guys are slugging coffees
Two
over there.
Starbucks double shot energy drinks.
Damn, put me on blast on the whole internet.
Yes.
Two.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just
Oh,
gonna
my
turn the
heart can
nutrition
take that.
effects away.
There we go.
Well, yeah. Well,
Got plenty
none
of
of that.
vitamin
I'm
B.
just worried about the caffeine. I'm worried your heart might stop. I was like a kid when I grew up. He would just fucking drink Monster all day long. And he's like, oh, the caffeine doesn't even affect me. I'm like, that's because you're high.
Totally. It's because
I'm
your
like,
brain exploded and you had a stroke. And
yeah,
you're
I'm like,
14.
you're vibrating.
I had a roommate
So-
that used to drink 2 a day.
Nope.
'Cause we got free Monster back in our fraternity house.
Oh, jeez.
One of the campus rep was in our house, so like weekly, Monster would deliver like 20 cases of Monster to us
Mhm.
every week.
Gross.
So everybody was just drinking it because it was free.
Tastes like fucking poison.
And it is poison, so
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I say that
Okay.
as I sip on my Red Bull.
Yeah.
I'm off the Red Bulls.
I actually have a water
What?
next to me today, so
I think you're lying for attention because there's no one there to verify that fact.
that very well
go
could be.
get
I'm
Nat
usually
and
actually
have her
drinking
tell
a
us
Coke,
what's happening.
but I do have water today. That's only because I drank 2 Cokes today, and I'm like, oh, I can't do another one. I'm getting diabetes,
I feel that. Drink
and
that water.
die.
Mhm.
Um,
So, I mean, back to the transitioning.
oh,
So
yeah,
I
that's
wanna-
probably
when I
a
s-
good idea.
Want to loop us right back.
Mhm.
Smooth segue.
Yes. So, what do you think is important for a lot of the guys that cisgender heterosexual males, like what's important for us to know about the transitioning process? Like, what would you like everybody to know?
I think the most important thing for everybody to know, especially trans people who are listening to this, but also especially men, is that the transition never ends. It is an entire life. Your life is transition. And when you see the difference between somebody who is pre-implants, but maybe has laser hair removal, maybe is taking hormones, maybe somebody who is wearing a hard front wig instead of grown out hair or a lace front wig. When you're seeing the difference between, say, what a stranger might consider a cross-dresser versus a full trans woman, all of that is privilege. whether you have the financial backing of your family, whether you have the financial backing of your job, or you have the access and resources to healthcare that can help you with those procedures if that's what you're seeking. And somebody can exist as trans in any shade of that and be a trans woman and be allowed to exist as a trans person. I have a lot of people who constantly speak to me because I don't have any subdermal implants. They're like, well, what are you even? Well, one, I'm a high-risk surgery candidate. And two, not every person, especially in 2020 moving forward, needs to look like a cisgender woman to be a trans woman. And in the past, trans people have had to really dedicate their whole life and all of their money and plus the experience of dysphoria into looking like a cisgender woman. I don't want to say 100% because of safety, but that is definitely a major component of it. Just how earlier when I was speaking about when I moved to Los Angeles when I was 18, 19, did I really feel the freedom to live my highest femme fantasy with my pumps in my hair? I've been wearing makeup and hair extensions and nails since freshman year of high school, since 8th grade, just because I was no longer homeschooled and I realized that I lived in America, and something we learned was in America you could be whoever you wanted to be. It was extremely difficult for me, so I only expressed myself to an nth degree until I finally had the space to where I had the comfortability to see more people in my community. With that said, I got to see all of the expressions of genders. And then, of course, I got to travel all over the United States and go to different queer and trans sanctuaries where you get to see every age, every color, every shape, every gender of trans. And it gave me this like really strong security of like, oh, I don't have to look like what I saw on Maury growing up to be a trans woman. I don't have to look like what I see in early 2000s porn of trans women. I can actually be my own interpretation of trans women. And we're talking about the time, and to bring it back to the timeline of transitioning, it's just like a lifelong thing of balancing beauty and age with the hormones that you're born with versus the hormones that you're taking if that's a route that you go, plus the age of your implants and plastic surgery. So when you're speaking to a trans person or a trans woman who has body work done, she might have to do it a couple more times in her life because implants have shelf lives. And those are really big decisions for a trans person or a trans woman to decide for themselves. Okay, am I going to spend $10,000 on a 20-year boob job that's going to have to be switched out? And am I going to have that money in 20 years to get them lifted and flipped? I don't know. Big, huge questions. So the transition period is broad and very different for each and every single trans woman.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and it's an important point. Especially, I especially like the part about the different walks of life that the women come from what we would consider, as you said, a cross-dresser, all the way to your porn star-looking person, and that these people can be in all stages of transition. And I think that's important for the guys to remember that just because somebody doesn't look like you think that they would doesn't mean that they are any less trans.
Absolutely. And to second guess someone's trans identity is a new trauma for that trans person, to be quite frank. You know, especially somebody who you see a picture of someone and you're like, oh my God, that person is a 6. And they are feeling like the picture that they sent you was a 9.5. So when you send them a message back like, oh, you're not trans, you're a cross-dresser, for a trans person to like hear that, now that's just over the internet. Imagine what that person might have said to her face and what the rest of her night might have been. So
and
it's good to keep that in mind.
I think that is important to keep in mind. And it's also, I think one of the big misconceptions, especially for males, is that there's this thought of, gosh, if I see a trans person, it's almost like I have to fuck them. And the answer is no, you don't have to. Not only do you not have to fuck them or try to fuck them or try to woo them, but you don't even have to be attracted to them. And what I mean by that is that you don't have to try to push them to fit your standards
of beauty. I see where you're going with that.
Right. You should be more open to this person is trans and maybe somebody else finds this extremely attractive. We have a Discord that I made before I made the Discord before I made the podcast. So the Discord is sort of the old Wild West version of the Trans Talk for Men space, and that when I made it for a place where I wanted to find a community, and the only way I knew how to find a community was through pornography. So pornography is a big part of that Discord server, but it is amazing that through all of our members, occasionally people will post pics of 3 or 4 trans girls, in a row, and they'll say, which one do you prefer? And each one of our guys prefers a different girl, and each one for a different reason. So that's to say that there is no one standard. There is no...
Of beauty, absolutely.
Right. And that's sort of what I was getting to, which is... So, guys, you don't have to want to fuck these girls to acknowledge
for them
that
to
they
be
are
allowed
women.
to exist.
right, and acknowledge that they're women, and that's what I'm getting to.
Exactly.
Is that
you don't have to be beautiful to be a woman.
You shouldn't step on them. You shouldn't be like, that's a crossdresser, that's a dude. Just because you wouldn't fuck them doesn't mean that that's an okay thing to do.
And also, if you consider yourself a trans amour, if you consider yourself to even value trans people enough to hope that they are allowed to exist in the world, the woman that you are attracted to most likely came from that person that you are disgusted by, that you now need to audibly share your opinion about that nobody asked for. So when that person hears you say those things, maybe they never make it to that beautiful post-op beauty that gets to live this beautiful fantasy where strangers are catcalling her instead of just screaming violent things at them.
Well, I think
like
that's
that's
a good point.
Yeah, it hurts future beauty from evolving.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely from my perspective, whenever I come across trans people, because I work security at a nightclub, so that's typically where I come across a lot of trans women.
Mm-hmm.
But and I think the angle that I always take is I know that this is a very vulnerable section, like part of the population.
Mm-hmm.
So I do everything I can to just make sure that they're having a good time, protect. And I think that's something that every guy can do. Like if you are attracted to these women, do your part to protect them, treat them super nice. Just do everything you can to just not make their day shitty. Like you may not be attracted to her, but you can still treat her like a regular human fucking human being and just be cool. Like I every person I see at the club, I talk to them like, oh my God, you look so great. Like, hey, please come on by. And if you ever have any problems, if anybody's messing with you, anybody says anything to you at the club, come get me. We are here to protect your night and your experience. I just think we can do our part to make them feel a lot more safe in public. It just takes all of us actually just doing it. Instead of standing by and not saying anything and just watching terrible things happen to people. Sorry to interject.
No, you're not.
I love it.
I just killed the conversation.
Well,
not at all.
I'm thinking as you're talking, Chris, and from my viewpoint, it really is on the job of men to step up, and I'm going to say protect, but what I mean by that is step up and be a force of hey, everything's cool, because men in the society have the power to diffuse situations like that. And I don't mean protect as in they're helpless. Of course, trans people are not helpless. They're some of the fucking fiercest people I've ever met.
That's true.
I wouldn't want to fucking transition. Are you kidding me? I don't want to go out of my house without my beard. And sometimes I leave it in the glove box and I can't leave the house.
It is a big decision, honey. And when you're ready to make it, I am here for you.
Thank you. But men can diffuse a lot of those situations as the how to put this without putting my foot in my mouth. I'm not going to. I'm just going to put my foot in my mouth. As the more prominent sex in society, as the one with more of the power in society, I think it's our job to say, hey, fuck off, leave this person alone. They are here having fun, valid, they can be here, all that shit.
I agree with you that it is the responsibility of men to educate men, and it's not the responsibility of trans people to educate cisgender men, just as it's not the responsibility of people of color to educate white people about aggressive, ignorant language and behavior. So I definitely want to hold space for that and say that totally fucking rocks. And like seeing how you can make change within your own community is all anyone can ask ever about any sort of social change. So
yeah, I
that's
mean,
great.
I agree. And on that topic, real quick, Chris, I have a question for you. As a white guy, why do blue lives matter?
They don't, because blue lives aren't a real thing. So there you go.
I'm just fucking.
Also,
you know I'm fucking.
Not a ethnicity or color.
And as a white person,
I thought it was Chris's job to teach me. God, I'm messed up.
dang it. Well, from one white person to another white person, blue lives sign up for it.
No, I know.
And black lives do not.
I'm not.
Just in case for anyone who's
that.
listening.
I will say I did apply. I did actually apply to, and I know you're familiar with this place. I did apply to be an Atlanta police officer once upon a time. So I was working in news out there and was absolutely fed up with the operation that I was at. And I was just looking for a new career path. Actually went to like the informal application, like their hiring event for the police department. And actually I was rejected. So they rejected me at the first event because I had resisting arrest charges from 2002 that were dismissed. The charge, like the case was thrown out, but the fact that the allegation was made by an officer made me tainted, while people without a college degree and people with drug charges on their record were just fine to be police officers.
Well, sure,
I'm
it's
like,
because you did something against the boys' club, but I mean, if it counts for anything,
I
I
just
think
didn't
you
want
would've
another
made a
underage
bang-on
ticket. I was afraid of
officer.
my mom finding out I was drinking because, she's a Christian dragon lady and drinking is a no-no for the
Well,
evangelicals.
unless it's the blood of Jesus.
unless it's the blood of Jesus and it has some alcohol in it.
You got to learn how to
that's
speak
right.
tongues somehow.
That's right. All right, moving right along. Super clean cut right there. Cat, why did you jump on my desk? That's what that bang was. All of a sudden, cat on my desk. All right, so Maddie, I want to ask you about your events or parties or however you prefer to call them. So we actually touched on this pretty much right at the beginning, but I want to hit it again a little harder, which is, are your events unique to Denver?
I would definitely say that my events are unique to any city, actually. I looked at some of the other events that your podcast has covered, and I also have been to lots of trans events that are kind of similar model to my party, but it always, not unlike this podcast, extremely caters to men and has a, and so is the setting of the experience. For instance, parties that I've been to have been strippers, porn playing, basically hypersexualized space from the moment you walk through the door. And usually really, really dark, not a lot of amenities, meaning access to water, multiple bathrooms, that's a social space to meet other girls, which is the reason why I went. I was new to New York. I had lived in LA for 6 years, so I knew, okay, what can I do? Let's go to a really specific space just for me. Maybe I can meet some girlfriends, blah, blah, blah. And then you go and you're like, oh, this is like a fetish fest, which it's not a bad thing. It's just because I'm a very sex positive person, I'm very inclusive, but I could see how someone who's younger or different, definitely any trans person under the age of 25, how they would be extremely put off by those scenarios because they are so hypersexualized. So basically, I started a party of my own where it was free for trans people, and I limit single male tickets to 25. and I let unlimited couples come. So if we're sold out of single male tickets and you come with a lady, you can come. That way all the men have a chaperone. And the whole point is to like
I see what you did there.
Yes.
And I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay, thank you. And also, in addition to providing a free space for trans people, I charge an exclusive price for men, whether it's $50 or $150, depending on the venue and space and how many people I have. Bigger parties, bigger venues, higher price, smaller parties, smaller venues, littler price.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point is to... it's modeled after a social program that I benefited from growing up in Colorado. Okay. They had like a weekly 3-hour trans queer kind of mental health circle for teens. And the reason that brought me out every time was they had a fuck ton of food.
Oh, yeah.
People are hungry. They want a pizza party. They want a Mountain Dew. So what I do at my parties is I just like pack it full of snacks and food, and girls come for free, and the money from the guys goes to a top shelf open bar, complimentary cannabis because we're in Colorado, and all the food and accoutrements of the evening for those who parlent français.
You're real French. That's like the fourth French word. Real fucking French. So you give out cheese, is what you're saying.
I start and end with cheese. That's how you throw a great party. Everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, the fundamental message of the space is the main space is strictly platonic. So you can present however you'd like on any kind of level of semi-undress, but sex-positive spaces are reserved for, more private areas so that people can feel comfortable not being hit on or, what's the word? Preyed upon. There we go. By men, because a lot of trans people aren't straight and are not attracted to masculinity, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. So to provide a really femme-heavy space where trans people can meet other trans people, and then also open the privilege to cisgender heterosexual men to see that magic unfold before their eyes, there's value there. Because there isn't sex-positive spaces for trans people anywhere in this country that are geared towards actual trans people made for us. There are LGBTQIA+, there are swingers events, there are drag events, but as far as being a truly trans space that like this is owned and operated by trans people, started by trans people, door person is trans person, bartender is trans person, security is trans people, all of it. So to put your money where your mouth is, that's very rare in America, and what makes my party singularly unique in comparison to other trans events in America.
Cool.
Long story long.
Yeah, I want to ask about the.
Slides.
I want to ask about the. You said sex positive, or what was it? Sex? Did you say sex?
Strictly platonic and sex positive.
Strictly platonic and sex positive. Can you go into that a little bit more? Like what are those? Like what is the differential in those spaces?
Awesome. So when people hear sex positive, they typically think the word orgy. And you're like, ah! But really, sex positive means doing whatever you want as long as you don't negatively affect any other person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If I bump this table one more time, I'm just gonna flip it. I'm just gonna flip it.
Flip the fucking table.
Yeah, 6'5" under these little tables. Anywho, so what was I saying?
You were talking about
the platonic versus sex positive. So sex positive space is about being able to be nude, to not and not harassed, to exist in the body that you're born in without being heckled, stared at, inappropriately touched, grabbed, anything. That's what a sex positive space is, where you can just show up with your consensual partner, whatever is communicated and consensual, and express yourself how you see fit. On the flip side of that, did you have a question about that?
Oh, I did, but it kind of ties into the whole thing, so I'm actually going to let you keep going.
So the platonic means friendship only. So we remove the hypersexualized dynamic of it, because that is the root of a lot of trauma for trans people, is being seen as a fetish, as being seen as, a tranny, or another word that I'm not going to use. They rather than like this is a person who also has a beautiful body, who is also a magical third gender person. They're like only seeing the physical characteristics to satiate a sexual need. So by creating a platonic non-sexual space for people to interact, vet each other, meet, flirt, just be like normal cisgender people, like a singles bar, that just doesn't exist. And it kind of feels like what the whole point of your podcast is like, how can guys talk to trans girls? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I throw this party, because there's like no normal place just to like meet and be normal.
It's very difficult to find.
But then also like a sex positive space where security and ownership can't police people expressing themselves naturally, which if you go to any straight bar, there are Britneys boning Chads in the bathroom because they're getting drunk and having too much fun on a Saturday. And trans people just don't have the access to that normal sexual expression and discovery that many cisgender people do. And I wanted to kind of create that for trans women.
Well, I think that's pretty rocking because, most of the guys will say, "Oh, where can I go meet trans women?" And we're actually going to get into that question in a little bit. But it's they'll often say like strip clubs, and I'm like, not really. I'm like, those are workers. The same way, you go to Burger King to get a burger and you're not there to be like, hey, you guys want to watch a movie? It's like they're there for a specific reason, and it's not a bad reason, but people who are like, oh, I want to pick up a girl or meet a girl or date a girl or whatever, and it's like, I'll go to a strip club. It's like probably a bad idea.
And you wouldn't go to your dentist and hit on her.
No.
She's a doctor, honey. You have no business hitting on that dentist. You'd probably try and meet that dentist in a social setting when they're not in a work mindset.
I haven't seen my dentist in forever. My teeth.
She misses you. She told me.
It's actually a guy, so.
Well, maybe that's why then.
Did you just assume my dentist is gender?
Yeah, I just assumed your dental professional was a female. Doesn't seem like a job I trust.
I find that offensive. They're actually an attack helicopter.
I like it.
At least you take it in stride. So, one of the other questions is, you were talking about having the sex positive space and the platonic space, and specifically in the sex positive space. This is not a question directed at the sex positive space, but it's what you touched on when you talked about it, which was they can be open as long as they're not hurting anybody and not be harassed. Harassment is the point I wanted to get to, which is, what is your best piece of advice you can give guys on how to approach trans girls out in the daily life? Like, they see a girl, they say they're, oh shit, sorry, cat again. They see a girl, whether it's somewhere where you can normally approach people and they assume she's trans, or maybe it's at one of your parties and they know that she's trans. What is your advice for best approaching these girls? Because Chris and I have given advice on how to do this from a, what'd you say?
I'm sorry, I just solved one of our technical problems.
Yeah.
We can hear you much better.
He's under the desk just dicking around with stuff. He's like not
that's
even.
That's exactly what's happening.
He's not. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
That's why I've been so quiet.
Once again, I caught that, and I'm gonna let it go. But Chris and I have talked about it. How did we meet trans girls? How did we approach the situation? But it's different coming from a trans girl advice to guys. So I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
Cool. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a disclaimer. I am 30. I am white. I am from Colorado. I've lived in New York. I've lived in LA. I've lived in Atlanta. I've spent a lot of time in Tennessee and in the South. So this is 100% based on my personal experience, and I do not speak for every trans person in the world, though I will try and advocate for safe ways for people to communicate. Let's start there. Disclaimer completed.
Okay. So you speak for everybody. I got it.
Yes, I speak for everybody, and I have no room to wiggle on my view.
None whatsoever.
No.
You are set in stone.
Perfect. First things first is introduce yourself. Like, if you can normalize what is probably going to be kind of an awkward situation, and maybe like have fun with it, And just like, whenever I talk to any guy, I either assume he's attracted to me or really wants to hurt me. And to me, it's hilarious. Both is like, well, because you can't tell.
Yeah.
From a distance, maybe he's checking you out. Maybe you get closer and a glass bottle gets thrown your way. You don't know. That's Colorado, honey.
Whoa.
Not Los Angeles or New York, though. They just yell at you. But yeah, anywho. Introduce yourself and be nice. Yeah, just walk up to somebody and completely normalize the experience of an introduction. Let's see.
Slide up in there and go, hey, bro, I'm Chad, bro. What's
Yeah,
going on?
definitely bro a trans person and see what happens. If you're looking for contact, you might just get it.
Hey, well, maybe that's what they're into.
Something that I have volunteered with trans mental health nonprofit and peer counseling or peer mentorship programs. I've also volunteered with physical health nonprofits as well for almost 10 years back starting in college. And something that gives me a lot of confidence when communicating with trans people, because I also am attracted to trans people, is to assume they're coming from a space of past trauma and assume that they may have come from a space of a new trauma today. So like you coming up to like a girl and being like, wow, you are gorgeous. Well, that person might not be seeking your validation. That person might not be able to hear the compliment that you're giving in the way that you're giving it. So traditional introduction types or introduction styles probably won't work. So I try and just come from a really gentle, sweet space, even if that's not necessarily how I'm feeling. If that makes
so
a
question about that. So I take what you're saying and I hear you. So how do we navigate that space of potentially coming from past trauma, but still being real with our intentions without tiptoeing around things? I think tiptoeing often leads to nothing good, as if though... See, my experience in life in general, not just with trans people, but say disabled persons and stuff like that, is the more you tiptoe, the more they feel outside.
Absolutely.
So it's best for, and I'm not saying come directly into it and being like, wow, your legs don't work, that fucking sucks. But acknowledge that, like, I'll be like, oh, so, cerebral palsy or, something like that. Not, maybe not that direct, but the point is, what I'm trying to say is, and you maybe understand what I'm trying to say is, if I were to tiptoe around it and be like, hey, you're just like me, you want to go out dancing or for a jog or something like that, it doesn't quite work because they feel more out as if though you're ignoring the clear, though you're ignoring what they are.
Absolutely. Something that has resonated with me that I find really cute that guys do is when they'll tell me like a personal trans experience. So like they'll introduce themselves to me and we'll talk like for a minute and then they'll say something like, yeah, my college girlfriend was trans. Or like, yeah, my sister's best friend was trans. Or they have like some sort of personal experience that brings it up without identifying me or necessarily putting me at risk because you don't know who I'm with. So I might be, at the mall buying makeup to you, and then, you come up and you're starting to flirt with me, and maybe I'm there with my family. Maybe I'm there. Maybe I'm at work. And who knows, like, work and family opportunities for trans people are always fluctuating and can be very temperamental. So just being conscious of ways to bring up things sweetly and discreetly without pointing a finger or...
Well, in my experience, and from what I understand, also that telling of the trans story signals to trans people that they are safe in the presence of this person.
Absolutely. And while you're at it, just get a trans flag tattoo.
Oh,
just write on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
does that play
suppose
into,
that could work.
Sorry, really need to interject here.
We
were talking in a past podcast with his girlfriend, and she was talking about how a lot of the girls really hate guys that are first timers or that don't have any experience. Is that
no one likes to feel like they're an experiment?
Oh my God, my girlfriend says the exact
like
same thing.
The right tactic, like just to put that person at ease that they're not feeling like an experiment. Because I don't feel like in no other situation in my life have I in talking to a young lady, have I ever thought like, hey, maybe I should bring up my ex-girlfriend right away? Like,
Well,
talking about exes is usually a bad thing.
also, but also on the other side of that, like when you're in, say, high school or college, you don't want to tell the cisgender girl that you're a virgin. You don't want to tell her it's your first time because it's a point of embarrassment. Whereas when I'm with trans girls, it's like the first thing guys bring up constantly, as if it's some sort of like fetish. And hey, I won't speak for every trans girl out there. I have fucked some problematic men that I have no business ever getting in contact with again because they were, really, really handsome. And I really needed that in that moment, that I needed to be seen as beautiful by someone who I considered beautiful.
I think that's trans and cis women do that all the time. My sisters have a line of dudes that they should never have gotten with.
No.
Like, what the fuck were you thinking?
And, sometimes dick too bomb. She'll get you. And once that's broken and you realize the quality of person that you're with. Anywho, I'm digressing just a little bit.
No, you're fine.
No.
But
All of
the
us regular
first
guys
timers
hate
are like the
douchebags that
super
get the hot
DL
chicks,
guys
so.
or, won't send a face pic sort of gentlemen. None of that makes a trans person inspired to see you again. And also it doesn't, for me, when somebody says it's their first time, I think, oh no, they're going to have really problematic language. So or if we go on a date, and even though that they want to be visible, they want to yes, I want to take you out. Let's go get drinks. If there's any sort of conflict that will inevitably happen, how they respond to it is going to be completely based on their experience. So when I hear somebody saying, oh, it's my first time, I'm like, well, someone's going to come for me at the club. Or someone's going to say something sideways to me, and I'm going to have to stop and stand up and say, you need to change your language. It's 2020. And how are you going to respond to that as your first time? And even me taking the time to think, oh my gosh, how's this guy going to respond on my first date? Nope. I want to, yes, it's not even worth
Have you ever had
exploring
that problem with like
tons.
a past boyfriend, like somebody just didn't stand up for you? They just kind of fell to the background when there was conflict?
Yes.
Okay.
It happened today with my current primary partner when we were at the mall shopping.
Oh.
Yeah, I was heckled by an older black man, and I raised my voice to him in an empty, echoing mall, and I said, we are holding hand. My primary partner, we were actually out in Aurora shopping at Rainbow because I'm really into bodysuits, obviously. And so I was just basically, I'm 6'5", so I'm definitely no petite waif of a human. And he just clocked me and was laughing at me. And I was like, it is 2020. You need to, and obviously I raised my voice. I wasn't being as demure as I am now. You need to change the way you think, old man. It's the future. And that's kind of like the one thing I say is it's 2020. It's the future. I'm allowed to exist. I'm allowed to exist. And just yelling it at him and just be like, I know that's really intense for me right now. And my partner wilted. It's his first time being in a relationship with a trans person. It's his first time being in a real relationship at all. And he is such a quality person, and I love spending tons of time with him. And he is a huge, true advocate for trans people. He's incredible. He's doing all the right stuff. But in that moment of conflict, he melted away, and then we had a conversation, and he suggested to me, well, you should have just ignored them. We should have just ignored them and not let them affect our day because that's what they want. And I said to him, silence is violence. And if I don't stand up in this moment and use my size privilege and my voice and my presence to identify this hateful, violent behavior happening in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, then he's going to continue to do that maybe with a smaller trans person who might truly be affected by it. So really navigating that conversation with a quote unquote first timer and how they would, I don't need anyone to stand up for me, but I definitely don't need someone to tell me to just brush it off because that's not how we create safety for other people.
So, in a previous podcast, we talked about toxic masculinity and if that kind of attitude or personality was attractive to trans women.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, somebody that is hyper masculine on the other end would probably charge that dude up and
hot topics.
put hands on him, and it's just like, I mean, is that going over the top for you? If he were to just completely flip out and grab that guy by the shirt, would that be a turnoff to you? And would you be like, okay, this guy is too aggro, I'm done?
Mm-hmm. I would actually be very shocked to even meet a man who would be so aggro, so aggressive to defend a trans person.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously am not going to encourage violence of any type, but I will see a big beefy man defending a trans person needs to be shot and go viral on cell phone footage, especially after what has been happening recently in the other direction.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say no to loudly and physically stand up for a trans person. I think that men need to be scared of being hurt when they are violent towards people that don't look like them, especially towards women and especially towards trans people. And especially, I guess.
Are you seeing, because you work with younger people right now, are you seeing any change in attitudes from the cis hetero men that are growing up in the age where they're taught about bullying and being introduced to a lot of these ideas? Because I mean, I'm 36.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated high school in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Trans was not anything we learned about in school.
Totally. It wasn't even a topic.
I had one gay kid in my whole grade.
The
it just wasn't a thing
Same.
back then. So it was just
you were the gay kid.
I know. That's true. They actually didn't even call me gay. They called me a woman and wouldn't let me change in the locker rooms or use the bathrooms or anything. And I think that's the biggest thing is there's a trans bathroom in middle schools and in high schools in my school district where I was the only gay kid when I was 14 with my hair extensions and my full face of glitter makeup, even just having a bathroom for a third gender person or a non-binary person or a not cisgender person,
So
that right there
bathroom.
Yes, I mean unisex is fine, but an all gender restroom is something that I'm seeing
exclusively.
Yes, I'm seeing just creating an all gender or creating accessibility with the verbiage around it is creating more normalcy for the everyday kid, growing up in suburban Colorado, for instance. And I just bring that back to trans kids being in the middle school of the school district that I started the first gay straight alliance in when I was in high school. Oh. So they had no gay straight alliances in any of the schools, and now there's a trans bathroom in the middle school. So even in just 10 years, the evolution of culture is rampant, especially with the internet, especially with today's media, trans people being hired. It's good. And also RuPaul's Drag Race obviously is a super huge fan favorite for all young kids because it's glittery and sparkly, high kicks and backflips, flames, the works, and it has every single gender and every single shape and color too. So we didn't have that when we were younger.
RuPaul has been around for a while. It's just what has really been of note to me lately was and I guess I don't know if it's weird, whatever. It's Laverne Cox on Orange is the New Black. Before her, you didn't see anybody openly trans on the red carpet at the Emmys.
Absolutely.
Getting interviews, getting extra endorsements on top of their shows.
And in Orange is the New Black, they gave that poor girl a hard front. Did not even give her a lace front. I'm talking a hard front hair hat.
I know it took me a minute too, Chris. I was
hard
front.
They showed her natural hair eventually, didn't they?
Well, in the flashbacks and stuff.
Napped up
and when they took away her hormones for the yes, they did show her real hair.
I am in the last season and she looks
I haven't seen the. Okay, I haven't seen.
I'm just saying her hair is done all the way to hell up.
Oh,
that's all
I don't
as
watch
it should
that
be.
show.
You should if you like the ladies.
No,
it's definitely worth
If you
the
like
watch.
Orange is the New Black, just very quickly, recommendation: watch Wentworth. It's an Australian version.
Yeah,
of that.
I heard it was good.
Very good.
I love me a good Aussie story.
Yeah.
That was a
Anyway, sorry
terrible
to
accent.
derail our conversation. We
It's
just
the
go all over
pets.
the place
Yeah,
on this.
I tried.
Our conversation is just everywhere today. Sorry
No,
about
it's
that.
fine. This
Audience.
is a great conversation. They'll love it.
Yeah.
They'll eat
So,
this shit up. They fucking better.
Oh, actually, hey Eric, you cool if we skip ahead a couple questions here?
No. Yeah, go for it.
Well, what I wanted to get into, and we talked about this very briefly before we started here, was the I guess the landscape of the adult film industry, and I know I wanted to hit this topic while we still had you here. You were telling me earlier that you gotten offers to do porn at one time.
Oh, absolutely. I think once you get over a few hundred followers on any particular social media platform, you start getting contacted.
Okay.
Why the fuck haven't we been contacted?
Do you feel comfortable saying which companies you have heard of from? You don't have to say them all, just like companies like this and that. Like, have you been contacted by a groovy photographer before?
I definitely probably shouldn't disclose the details if we're going to discuss the political side of things as to why I haven't done it.
A simple yes or no.
Yes. I have been contacted by popular content providers, content creators. Yes.
Okay.
And they don't want to pay trans people fairly. So let's just start there.
So then, and that goes to what we were, Eric and I were having a conversation, again, another conversation on a past podcast about this emergence of like a freelance culture.
Yes.
Where like a lot of girls are moving away from groovy, trans angels, trans 500, with all the other larger sites, and they're just going to OnlyFans and ManyVids, and they're doing the cams and they're doing the premium Snapchats.
They're smart.
It's just like, is that a lot more lucrative than doing the larger
something that I talk about a lot is we live in a capitalist country, so you have to vote with your dollar. Our elections are rigged. We don't know what works what is an electoral college. I don't know. Long story super short is every time we spend $1, we're voting for that person. And if we are downloading large production content, you don't know where your money is going. So you don't know how much that actress is making, if she's even making residuals, or if she even wanted to have that encounter to begin with. When you're working with a production company, it's quite typical that you don't really have a say in your casting or necessarily what you do. So
you can't bring your boyfriend with you. It's like, I would like to work with him.
That is not typically a first-time option.
Okay.
They typically have a preset idea of how they see you and how you'd best make their company money and how they'd want to feature you based on what you visually have to offer.
Yeah, they kind of categorize you depending on... So, as like, for example, probably for yourself, Maddie, as being a taller girl, they probably would say like, oh, you're going to fuck this guy, as opposed to the other way around.
I'm definitely branded as like dominatrix.
Whether that be true or not, it's that visual branding, and that's the first thing.
Exactly. And then they'd pair me with someone who's like 5'4", 5'6".
Yeah.
Just to give you that big and little dynamic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that's one side. If we're talking about voting with our dollar, did I press something?
No, you keep going.
Okay, cool. If I'm talking, I just lost him in my head.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about the ManyVids and OnlyFans, you know that 100% of the money is going directly to the entertainer. And you also know that this entertainer got to choose their partner. So when you're selecting and setting up your own production, and this just comes from my production background working in LA and kind of just seeing how it's all put together with sound, lighting, video, staging. It's kind of like a simple format, not super rocket science to set up. And once you've worked with porn production companies, you're like, oh, all I had to do was rent an Airbnb with a pool and have an iPhone 10. That's great. That's all I have to do.
What?
Okay. I gotta stop you right. I gotta stop you right there, Maddie. I was gonna say
Airbnb.
Chris just brought it. Chris just brought it up. As connoisseurs of porn, Chris and I are the sirs of porn.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are no extra pools. There is one fucking pool, and it is never used. Nobody ever goes in it, with the exception of one fucking video.
Well, that's because they're not filming with you.
Yeah, all the groovy videos, they're at the same backyard. It's a little pool, and they're right there. The girl is right next to it at the same shot. Like that.
I'm just saying,
they
get
go
in
through
the pool.
Exact same shots. It's crazy.
Get in the pool.
To me, it sounds like that the director owns that property and was trying to save money.
Yeah.
Or pay for that property by shooting videos there. Be like, oh, shoot, I need to pay this mortgage. Let's just film porn here, I guess.
Does it ruin the fucking water to get in the pool?
Maybe he can't afford to clean it. How much are those
no,
girls
that
making?
pool
They'll tell you.
doesn't look blue. It's like a green tint. It's not clean.
If you hit me up with, if you get us in contact with some of those girls, we will ask them why they never get in the pool.
Perfect.
I want to know why they never get in the pool. I know this is a very man-centric thing, but for my viewing pleasure, get in the fucking pool.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to wet bodies on a hot day ever.
See, there we go. At least I got a little backup there. Yeah. Okay, carry on.
That's why she throws the pool parties.
I do throw pool parties.
Yeah, I know. Chris went to one.
Last one. It was bomb as fuck. I loved it.
We did have a really cute day.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely the shit. So, want to just lightly dive into the dating world. And I know you're seeing somebody right now, but you've been in this dating world recently in the new age of apps and all that stuff. So,
I do have a new primary partner.
What's up?
I do have a new primary partner, yes.
Now, you keep saying primary. I want to touch on that real quick. Do you have secondary and tertiary partners?
Not yet, but we are in a polyopen relationship.
Okay.
Because we both identify as pansexual, which means obviously all of our tastes cannot be encapsulated in one single body.
Okay. That's totally fine. I just wanted to touch on that for the guys listening. I assumed that was the case. However,
and I've definitely run into couples like at our parties that have exact same. You know, they definitely have open relationships. So I think that's pretty dope. That you're like free enough, you have enough confidence. Because a lot of people with low, they just don't have a lot of confidence. He's going to cheat on me. They're going to leave me if they get too happy with this other person. And, that's a lot of stuff that you run into.
We have those discussions, especially an open relationship needs frequent check-ins and clarifications and details shared to keep it strong.
Okay.
Is your open relationship a triad or is it built on a fulcrum?
A fulcrum? Is that like two people? I'm sorry, I got a GED, so I'm gonna have to Google that one.
Yeah, from what I understand about the poly relationships, is there are two main forms, which is a triad or like a square formation where everybody's interconnected with everybody else, and then there's what I understand is what's known as a fulcrum, where there's one key person. So in your relationship, if you were the fulcrum,
it's a fulcrum.
I would say you would date your primary person, but you would also date another person who has no contact with your primary.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, fulcrum.
Yeah, we definitely do fulcrum. That's cool. I didn't know that had a specific term.
At least that's what I've read.
But only because we're having discussions around jealousy versus compersion. When you're feeling those emotions of jealousy, you're the FOMO, the fear of missing out, the I wish I could have that too. But compersion is seeing somebody that you love and care about who is experiencing joy without you and being so happy that this person you care about is having a great experience. And it doesn't matter that it's not with you because you care about this person. And obviously, if you love someone and care about someone, you want them to have really incredible, amazing experiences. And unfortunately, honey, that's not always going to come from you.
Ooh.
And that's the magic of openness.
I've heard if you love them, you set them free.
My partner loves to give me those they says fortune cookies. I love that. He just fills me. I'm like, don't tell me that in this moment.
That's what they did in Free Willy. They freed him. He's like, I love you, Willie, and your whale penis.
And your whale penis. That's all I think about.
I'm pretty sure that was part of the movie. Jackson. Pretty sure it was.
That's the only plot point.
Whale dong.
Man. I can't believe that was actually a hit movie at one point.
I can't believe they made like 4 of them.
Oh yeah, they made so fucking many of them.
I know there was a second one that nobody saw, but
well, I mean, how else was SeaWorld going to make any money?
Yeah, there you go. Jeez.
Talk about a pool that they film at over and over again.
Yeah, I know, right? Get out of that. Well, at that point in time, I'm like, get
out of that pool. Yeah. Get out of the pool.
Now get some trans chicks in the pool and get the whales out of the pool.
There we go. There we go.
That is drawn in the sand. That is the line.
So I'm sorry. Back to the dating world.
Yeah, totally.
Very quickly, I really want to know what dating apps like. that worked the most for you, and which ones you just hated?
So I'm going to tell everybody out there, and let's bring it on back to that voting with your dollar. Grindr is owned by a Chinese company, and they have lots of transphobic company policies, and they specifically target trans people. Even though they advertise and changed the interface of their app to look more trans inclusive, they in fact are not. So that's kind of a catch-22 sort of scenario. Even though Grindr is the most local, quickest, easiest, kind of that like instant Craigslist style casual encounters, sex magic that we're missing after the Sosta Fosta acts, Grindr's a great immediate access to trans people.
Well, that's where I met you.
Oh,
So,
it was on. Well, I use Grindr to promote my events because everyone's like, "Where do I meet trans girls?" And I'm like, "Same."
You're like, I have no fucking idea.
That's me and same.
You're just like, I don't know. I'm looking too. That's why I'm on Grindr.
Exactly.
Maddie's job title was club owner, and I'm like, oh, well, she's trans and she owns a club. I need to check this place out. I'm like, where's the club? Like, where do I go?
Exactly.
And I ended up going to your Pride Weekend event. That was my first event of yours that I went to. It was a Pride Weekend.
Oh, awesome. At the warehouse space?
Yeah.
That was a really good
So I know we've moved on from there, and actually the last venue really worked out as well,
Mm-hmm.
and the party was super fucking dope.
Yeah.
No, I met you on Grindr, but I've been
Dopest.
I've been exploring outside of Grindr. That was just one of the apps that I was using, but
yeah, Grindr is the best as far as like meeting people immediately, but it's not the most respectful in communication.
No.
So people are very cut to. I really enjoy FetLife.
Okay.
You see people's profiles, you see people's pictures, you see people's friends. It has kind of that. FetLife is a website that has the interface of Facebook 2002.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
where you like find a lot of fetish or
Yeah,
sex
it's like-
party stuff.
yeah, it's like
If
fetish
you want to find out where the
inclined.
sex parties are at, or if you want to. I'm sorry, please.
No,
explain,
it's
'cause
okay.
I'm such a noob at it.
They advertise a lot of sex positive spaces and fetish events, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And something that trans people don't always realize is that if you self-identify as a cross-dresser, or you're not a full-time trans person, or, and I don't like to use this term, but because it's misogynistic and oppressive, but if you don't consider yourself passable, then finding solace and community in a fetish space is a great first step, because it's typically live and let live. It's typically a non-judgment space, and most importantly, it's a sexual health positive space. So people are talking about taking care of your body, getting tested, normalizing the process of a human body, which a lot of other spaces shame.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I love about maybe fetish websites, is just the sex positivity and communication around sexual health dynamic, rather than the hypersexualization of trans people. Let me think of other things.
Well, while you're thinking of that, actually, at your event, I met a couple trans with a heterosexual male that found you on FetLife.
Awesome.
So they said that's like actually how they found out about your events.
The event, yes.
Your Friday one, the one this past Friday, and the pool party afterwards. Like, so I mean, people are finding you on there. So
that's the tricky part about throwing any sort of trans event, is lots of companies and nonprofits and bars even want to facilitate and host our events, but they're very neutered. They're very like pizza parties and, like not, or like a weird happy hour in the basement. Like, it's not a feature or a proud moment for them. It's like they're doing us a favor, when in fact we're a massive demographic with a huge budget.
I will say the nightclub that I work at did something kind of like that on I think it was a Saturday night of Pride Weekend, but it was like a pansexual party, and but it was in like our side room club, like it wasn't in the main hall. The side room club was there, and like
we noticed that.
Yeah, so I mean they were there, but not that many people showed out to it. Like, the club was going on, but there was no like big banner saying, "Hey, here's this big pansexual." Like, everybody else that was in the club, they didn't know what was happening in there. And then the people that came there for it knew they had the right wristbands and all that stuff. Obviously, all the staff we knew, and we were briefed on like right terms to say and all that stuff. But it was just like, it was kind of off to the side.
A pretty good rule of thumb is you need to hire the demographic that you're trying to attract. So whether you're a white man that owns a hip hop club or a gay man that is trying to have a trans night, or even a straight person trying to have a trans night, if you don't have your demographic promoting, working at the door, the first face you see, the face you see at the bar, the face you see on the stage, the face you see on the flyer, all these different faces, that foundation of hiring intentionally is what creates the invite and the circle of friends to bring people there. If you're like, hey, we're just going to create this safe space to be, well, trans people think, okay, where is it? How much is it going to cost me to get in? When I get there, am I going to pay for alcohol? And then I'm going to tip this person. Where is all of my hard-earned money going? And how am I giving back to my community by shopping intentionally or partying intentionally, or however you want to say? So
I can attest to everybody, that's how our events are. I met Desiree at the front door.
Yeah.
This is the first person I met when I came up to the first event I went to. And this one, and the last one as well. But like, yeah, she does. It's exactly how all of her events work. You know, it's all trans people working every post. So,
well, because
she is practicing what she preaches, folks. That's what I'm saying.
Nightlife creates tangible income, and you can have a social enterprise that directly impacts your community while creating a commerce and income. We're going to go out and be the one trans person at a straight bar or gay bar or park or whatever, whether or not we have our own bar or not. If we have our own space to be, then we can be the 50. Like, I had every single one of my parties, I have over 50 girls. I think I sent out 82 confirmations for the last party, and like 20 of them were men. So like, it was just...
So guys,
there's a real community even in Colorado.
New York. Come to Denver or New York to go to one of our events. You have great odds.
Well, yes, you do have great odds. And part of that is limiting single male ticket price. Another thing is raising the price. I also do...
It's worth it.
Well, I also offer free entry for men who want to stay for the last hour and clean. So if you don't come from privilege, if you don't have the resources that maybe... traditionally,
that's smart thinking.
Well, yes, and also you're giving a physical contribution to the space, growth through service. You're actually giving to the community by picking up trash and saving me, who does it myself, because all these venues are booked under my name. So by you showing up for me in a way that's really profound, I also have an opportunity to show up for you. And
yeah, and that's
better than paying money, in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
really dope.
It's really cool that you give that opportunity to the guys because there are guys, you know, I live out in the woods in Portage, and I am in a relationship, in a committed relationship, a committed monogamous relationship. But, you know, say I wasn't, and I fucking live in the woods, and I barely make dick all for money. Agreed. And I came, and I'd be like, and you were like, oh, it's $150. I'd be like, ha, I'll see you guys later.
But also knowing that, like, if you wanted to come and contribute to the space by cleaning, or if you want to bring food or drinks, or
that's
whatever,
what I'm saying. I think that's an excellent idea, because it encourages people, like you said, who can't afford it to come out. And there's a fair amount of trans attracted men out there who don't make dick all for money. So, and
you don't have to be rich to date a trans person, but you definitely have to respect that this trans person is going to have a very expensive life, with or without you.
Bunch of fucking money grubbers.
Well, I know, what can we say? But so, and I won't say but yes, and by showing up to this space and contributing to it, especially through cleaning, all the fuckboys are gone. The lights are up. You get to meet the girls who are hanging out. You get to meet the staff. People see you showing up for your community. That's the guy that's going to get the girl long term. If you're really trying to date and not just trying to fucks and get your dick wet, anyone can fucks and get their dick wet. You know, like, anyone can do that. It's 2020 almost. But if you want to meet somebody and be friends with them and fuck them more than 2 times, we notice when people contribute to our spaces.
Now that
and
is
it's
a
not
hot
always
tip
about
right
money.
there. That's a guys, take note of that. Clean up. Not just your face, but clean up the floor around you.
Well,
There
you
you
know,
go.
leave the space a little bit better than how you found it. And that's just actions and impressions on us that you'll do the same for us. And that's how I date, as somebody who works hard, makes money. I date younger people. I am not afraid of a first timer. I see a first timer as somebody who needs to learn some good habits. And they are very lucky that they found me so that I can teach them the truth.
Oh,
and then
modest, too.
send them on their way to to treat other girls with the level of respect that they deserve. So that's, every trans girl is like super different depending on where they're at in their
Certainly.
life or transition.
Certainly. Well, that's the same for anybody, regardless of
Yeah, of course.
of where you stand. Well, I'm not trying to contradict you. What
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying is it's that we often forget that is true for everybody. That we say, oh, is that only trans girls, cis girls, white girls, black girls, whatever men? It's true for everybody, and we often forget that.
Yeah, some people do forget that. It actually just reminds me of a story that I had to share from your party. Because actually, I had a really good experience telling people about the podcast and just talking about these kinds of issues, and just talking about issues that they have with guys, cisgender heterosexual men. And I remember I was talking to I forget her name, but it was just one of the girls there. She wasn't one of your employees, not employees, but one of the people that works your events. But I told her about the podcast, and I told her our mission statement, we're trying to normalize, men dating transgender women and all that stuff. And then she was just like, so, what's the podcast called? Chasers Anonymous. And I'm like, okay, well, I
that
spoke
sucks. That you even
3 or 4
assumed that.
sentences to you, and we're all chasers now. And I'm like, really,
To be reduced to that.
Well, it's thanks for hearing us out.
Yeah. So it was really, I was like, but I brushed it off and just went and talked to other people. And that person, I was still cool with. I wasn't like, oh, I'm done with you forever. It was just like, well, that's unfortunate, but we're going to keep the conversation rolling. And I was really trying to win her over with describing what the episodes we've done, the issues we've talked about. But, this kind of does lead to another, topic that we have covered that is people always in this conversation space want to talk about, and that is the subject of chasers. And what is a chaser? What is it? What do you have to do before you catch that label? From your perspective, what do you define as somebody who's a chaser?
Cool. Really quick before I answer that, I just would very much like to encourage maybe anybody out there who hears a problematic label that they don't feel identified with. This is going to sound very middle school, but when someone calls you a name, it has nothing to do with you. So when somebody calls you a chaser, the first thing I think of is here's this gentleman at my party speaking about a podcast authentically, communicating about a space where men can learn from the voices and perspectives of other men attracted to trans women and trans people themselves, and for her to just straight up cut you off, so to speak, shows me that
cut you off right at the dick.
Yeah, she reminds me of the type of trans people who detest my party, all my events, and think that I'm garbage and trash because I create a safe sex positive space, and they decide for me and they decide for the event without even reading the website or talking to anyone that it is a masculine man orgy sex den. And I'm like, have you ever been to a college house party? It's literally just a big fun house party full of friends with a bonfire and then some cute rooms with rainbow lighting. It's not this scenario that you really need it to be. You want to dislike this so bad that you already decided. So I'm hearing in your language right now that maybe that person or those people that are so quick to cut you off and give you that label it doesn't really matter what you're going to say or how you explain it. They need you to be a chaser so that they can dislike you. Mm-hmm. And that has nothing to do with you. So it was good for you to just move right on because you can talking.
Now, what was weird was this person also gave me your number and was like, "Hey,
I bet.
hit me up, like let's do something." And
I like how you're not fazed by that.
Huh?
Like,
oh no, I was like, of
Okay.
course she did.
I mean, I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't 100% attracted to this person, but I wasn't gonna let that, darken the mood out there or just like make anything negative. So I just like played along. Like, okay,
some of my best experiences are from people that I never would have thought that I would ever be attracted to. And
in other words, fucker.
In other words, pay attention to those hormones.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm very much a not doer because Eric gets mad at me when I'm not as on top of things when it comes to pursuing certain
drive
ladies.
Me fucking crazy.
He's way more aggressive when it comes to that kind of stuff. That's why he's got a girlfriend. Well, damn near wife. I mean, how long does it take for the government to just recognize you as a
10 years. As a gender?
I've got no
10 years.
So
you got like 3 more until they just say, "Well, fuck it, you're married."
Yep, that's right. Yep. 10 years. Although they don't do it in Michigan, so it'll actually reset when we move.
Oh, well, son of a bitch.
Yep. So I will say that I didn't date anybody for 10 years, more than 10 years. Wow. I didn't have a primary partner, and no more dating than a couple of months here and there just to feel someone out. And I'm always attracted to the super sweet angels, especially the one. My current partner came to 3 of my parties before I super interacted with him, and he helped clean up 2 of the parties. It was really sweet. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've come to 2 of your parties. I can't afford to come to the 3rd one. Can I clean up for you or be on the cleaning crew?" And I was like, "Absolutely, that's great." He was super sweet, contributing. He was contributing time to the space. And then he was getting ready to leave and wasn't pressuring me in any way and had 0 expectations. And that's what did it. So I fucked him, and we've been together ever since.
don't mistake what Chris was saying for him being a sweet little angel. He's just fucking lazy.
Okay. So if there's a laziness component, I can speak to that.
There you go.
Get his ass up there and be like, "Hey, girl, what's up?" And that's when he's saying, "I'm super aggressive because I will fucking text you. I won't wait around."
Yeah. Hey, that works too. And that's his approach these days too.
That guy, for sure.
That's awesome.
I had to do it. I had to.
Thank you.
You
don't waste time. That's actually a really good. So you asked me tips of like how to communicate with trans girls. Is like, I do just get up there, like absolutely go meet them, talk to them, flirt with them. Sometimes you just have like a sliver of a chance to meet somebody, and those are the people I've had in my life forever. Even if I met them one time in New York and now they live in Berlin, we like have these really long intentional loves that can be far apart and then be close together when they return. So
for me, I think it was I didn't want to be that one, cisgender hetero guy coming to your party, not knowing anybody and just hitting on everything with 2 legs. Like
we had some of those.
And I know they show out from time to time, but I didn't want to be that guy. Like I just wanted to be cool. Totally. So every single time I go, I play it like super platonic, and I just want to get to know people and just make friends and make connections because I can always come back to another party or I can hit them up in their DMs on Instagram afterwards and see what happens after that. But it's just I'm not in that mode when I'm there. I'm not going to lie. I have been like mesmerized by a girl here or there. But I'm like, holy shit, that girl is pretty fucking hot. And I'm like, I'm not going to stare too long, but damn.
And that's another main differentiator, if that's a word. Difference. Let's try that one. That's the major
differentiator.
Yeah, let's try that one.
It sounds like the Terminator's like, I don't know, one of his like
sidekick.
Well, not even his sidekick, like one of the guys that works in the office. He's like, "I'm the differentiator."
That's what he calls his piece.
You've been denied.
Yeah, I know, right?
His like superpower's a stamp.
I know. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like not the report,
not the red ink. Yes, so that's what's the big difference between my events and probably other trans events is the social part of it is that you like the girls that work my events are tagged on Instagram and social media, so you can contact any of us and send us messages anytime. I have a social media network that you can follow me through, or follow us through my Instagram, and the website have links as well. And you can just join the social media app, download it right to your phone, and it's Made Up Club is the name of the network, and you can just chat with all the people, send messages, blah blah blah. And yes, it's about that like friendship and just basic connection. I'm not being like, hey, this is this totally platonic space, but the girls are going to be back next month.
Yeah.
That like there's a few guys that come every single month.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to rush it all on this one night because we have social media. This is just like a safe space because Lord knows men cannot host. Men do not host. They're so horrible at it. And also, we're not trying to have men all up in our house. So to have a space where you can invite your cutie that you've been talking to on Grindr for 6 months, boys, gas pedal to the metal. Don't wait so long, making us wait so long.
Yeah, 6 months is like way too fucking
Or
long.
much longer, some of you other boys out there, because you're so shy. You can come to this artisanally lit space that is respectful and not too bright. You can feel shy. You can meet other girls that probably feel just as shy as you. So,
well, I will say that is definitely a regret that I have at being 36 now. Is that I waited so long to fully just dive into this. Like, I've been interested in trans women for a long time, a very long time, but it's just like starting to date them. I didn't start dating any of them until I was in my early 30s.
You old fuck.
So that was, easily 12 years of being interested in one thing but dating another and hanging out with cis women and all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, like, if any of you guys are out there and you're young or however old you are, like, dude, just live your fucking life. Live your life with the goal of being happy as possible, because this thing ain't gonna last forever. So,
and don't forget those acts of kindness, those little things like opening doors, and God forbid you pay for a meal. These are people who don't get those really normal experiences. So little tiny things absolutely resonate with really specific people. And if you go into that being like, okay, this person had a weird luck of the roll of the dice, I'm going to do little tiny actions to show this person that I see them and that I value their existence. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Just acts of service, acts of kindness. We pick up on that.
Well, that's an interesting point that I've actually noticed, which is, and I don't say this to demean anybody, but it's sort of a, if you treat this person like a person, then all of a sudden it's like you're moving the fucking earth and the moon and the stars and all that shit, and it's amazing. And it's amazing in that such a small fucking give it to literally anybody gesture can mean so much to people. And I think it's interesting in that it's a benefit for guys trying to date, and that it's like, treat this woman like a person, like a woman, and it will go much farther than you think. But it's also sad in that, why would anybody expect anything less than human treatment?
Something my primary partner does now, but started doing that really caught my attention, was he found out what type of iced tea I like from the gas station or 7-Eleven. And every time I see him, he always has one. It's such a small thing. It costs $2, but he figured it out. He gets it for me. I can obviously afford as many iced teas as I want, but that little tiny thing, like, he doesn't. I like to pay for meals. I like to take trips and care about the people in my life. And I don't expect other people to do that for me. It's something I enjoy doing. So for somebody to give back in a really small way to me and just see me like that is monumental. So for someone else who doesn't have the resources or entrepreneurial skills that I do, that little tiny thing might make the world to them. Like, I paid, the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say the point that I hung on there was, you guys still have 7-Elevens?
Dude, they're fucking everywhere. Out here, dude.
Really?
They're everywhere in Colorado.
They're
We haven't had a
everywhere. They're all
7-Eleven in
over
15 years.
Houston.
You mean you don't have
Vegas.
47 flavors of Slurpee?
Oh, fuck no. We've got 2. And they both taste like tobacco.
Tobacco.
Actually, 7-Eleven cleared out of Milwaukee too. It might be a Midwestern thing that they
Yeah,
just
well,
sent out
they
the
used to
region.
be here. I remember seeing them when I was growing up.
Yeah,
and then they're
when I was a
fucking
kid, too.
gone.
What are they now? A come and go?
No.
That's in Minnesota and Iowa.
I
not
love
Wisconsin.
I love the come and goes. I love how they made it a KUM.
It's so weird.
As
Come on, guys.
if though we weren't like.
Is that like somebody's last name and it was just an unfortunate
It was
last
probably
name?
like Kruger, Umbler, and
Oh, yeah.
Madison as the last names. Like, let's just put them together.
Yeah, well,
Sounds about right for that region.
It's so funny because I'm like, really? I'm like, you're not fooling anybody with that fucking K. But
And also, maybe you should make your gas stations a little cruisier with a little less lighting if you're going to name it that.
yeah.
Oh, geez.
I mean, that fluorescent lighting is
It's true.
unforgiving.
It's true. So what you're saying is dim it down, get back to
Yeah, maybe a little-
incandescent bulbs.
Like a lava lamp.
No, I'm saying,
Just
I
kidding.
think a yellow incandescent would be fun.
Perfect.
But no, we have speedways here. That's what we have.
Oh.
Yeah,
So-
speedways. Yep.
That's it. That's all we fucking got. We got speedways and BPs, and don't go to the fucking BP. So
Google
I
it.
like some of them,
no, they're just
but I'm
they're
people
just
don't
shitty,
try me, so I'm
they're
good.
just shitty stores around here. Our speedways are so much better.
Yeah.
So we're talking about gas stations. Like
We sure
I
are.
know,
I
right?
just want
Like-
to point out that's where we've gone.
Welcome back to American gas stations.
After this is it's the Chick-fil-A podcast.
Oh, geez.
Chris, you know what I'm talking about.
Chick-fil-A is empty right now. Popeyes killed them.
Really? Well,
Like-
that's what happens when you're political with your food, honey.
There you go.
Really? Because they're still popping
Everybody's
out here in
getting
the
the chicken
woods.
sandwich at Popeyes. Like I've been seeing all over my feed today.
Oh
that
yeah, did they
Popeyes drive-through was packed and nobody's at Chick-fil-A.
did they just
It's
like
fucking empty?
did Popeyes just figure out that you can put chicken in bread?
Apparently, and they seasoned it extra hard to like taste so much better than
I mean, that's
Chick-fil-A
all.
sandwich,
She'll get
so-
you real good.
Anywho, so
Well, before we get wrapped up here, I definitely want to have you tell people where they can find you and your events.
Awesome.
So
Stole
where
my
can we get
fucking
you
line.
on Instagram?
You can find my personal Instagram, God is Trans. And if you're interested in finding out more about trans events, maybe trans spaces to meet people, you can follow us on Instagram or on Twitter, TransOwned, or you can go to transowned.com and that will redirect you to one of our events. And if you're in the Denver or New York area and you're looking to meet some trans people, my events are called Made Up Club at madeupclub.com. And yeah, I'm super easy to find.
Dope.
it didn't take us much work, so you know.
It's true. All you have to do is hop on Grindr and I will be...
Oh yeah. Actually, very quickly, I started. I've been talking about this for a few episodes now.
Mhm.
I got on this trans app.
Transder?
No, it's just trans.
Okay.
And it has been. I've had way more success with that app than any other app in terms of getting girls to message me back. Like,
But are you paying for messages?
well, I don't mind, like, for dating apps. I always pay for like the gold membership or whatever. Like, I don't need it to be free. I usually pay
That's
for
the
every
T.
network.
They charge us the same price.
Oh, really?
So for
Well,
us to like on these trans apps, they're
Uh-huh.
being developed by cisgender men.
Oh.
And then they're just making money off of us.
Mhm.
And when it comes the difference between a trans app and say Grindr that has a trans filter that you
Mhm.
can just see trans girls,
Mm-hmm.
Grindr is the more popularly known one and it's free for us.
Yeah.
Whereas for us to even respond to a message, we have to pay like, $9 a month or whatever the thing is. So I just feel a little pinched about
that's definitely
cis
true on
people
the
trying to make
TS
money
app.
off of us when we're just trying to safely meet.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, shoot, give me a pop-up ad instead of trying to charge me. Like,
I gotta be honest though, I'm finding way more girls on when
it's
I was
just
on
called
Grindr.
trans. It's the green one, right?
No, it's purple.
Purple.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you've said
so-
it was purple. Yeah.
Yes. So
my
I mean, the
phone's
thing
dead,
is,
am I
like,
kidding?
when I'm on Grindr, I see like the same 5 girls on there, and I'm just like,
Mhm. Block
Is
him.
there anybody else?
You were one of them.
That's how you change it up.
Totally.
But
He's just like, who's that
trans app is
Maddie
just
chick?
like
Jesus.
so many chicks.
Always
on there.
online.
It's crazy. And they can reply to you for free if you message them first.
I see. There we go.
But you can't get random messages unless they can like wink at you or whatever
to get your attention.
Yeah, and then you can like hit them up. But I kind of online date in spurts, and I'll have a day where I'm like, I'm gonna send out messages to like 15 girls to see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't do anything for a week.
Yeah, even
But
though
if
you
they
get
message me
7
back-
responses.
Well, I wish I got 7 responses.
Whatever. You tell me
like
about
that.
it, and then you don't do anything.
There was one girl I was talking to, and I just stopped because I'm like, I don't want to pen pal, and you don't want to video chat or do anything else. And we had been texting for like
It's a couple
we've
weeks.
been texting for like a good 2 weeks, texting back and forth.
And she don't want to meet.
Constant texting. It
She
was
didn't even
because she's in another state.
Mm-hmm.
She's in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to move to either phone call or FaceTime. And like really just, and then I mean from there I can just fly out there and visit her. But
So
she
I
didn't
have a
want
suggestion.
video chat or anything. So
For me,
uh-huh.
it is very hard for me to paint a gorgeous studio face for a video chat.
Okay.
However, if a man sends me a message and says, baby, I want to have a virtual dinner date with you tonight. Here is $50 in your Venmo. Go order yourself some Chinese food. If you're feeling so compelled, pop on some tinted lip gloss and let's have a video date. Like it gives this person, and this is just for the out of town specifically. Obviously, if you're in the same town, you can go a different route. But if you're speaking to someone out of state, giving that, just recognizing and validating that this person actually has to put a financial investment to just look at you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a good pair of lashes is $11. I don't know about you, but that's more than some meals I eat. For a nice set of lashes. So just like thinking, like, I'm not saying that's the way to go. I'm not saying you have to be rich or send a girl money to interact with her, but I will say it sure is tough to get all gorgeous just to potentially be someone's spank bank material. Potentially.
Always going in the bank.
I will say.
Well, exactly. Or maybe you're right there masturbating during the video and I can't even see it.
That's terrible.
No, we don't suggest guys do that.
Well, of course not. But I'm saying that might be
such a 4-star move.
But that might be like the last 100 interactions this girl had prior to you. And like all these guys are trying to video with her. And she's thinking, we've only been texting 2 weeks. I don't fucking owe you any video. You know, when you're like, damn, we've been texting for 2 weeks. I haven't even seen
didn't say, hey, show me your dick on video.
No. Of course. Yeah. You're being respectful, but
I want to escalate
just a little bit of perspective. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I am impatient. So, and
As-
half of like the
as am I.
relationships that I find with trans women that are at least online, like, like I've dated girls long distance a few times. Like I've just like I would just fly out to see them like every month or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't mind the long distance thing. It's just it needs to progress at a steady rate,
Of course, and not be a waste of time.
And this is just women, period, that I've experienced. So please feel free to defend all women on this one because I'm just keep it real.
I'll take it.
I really get tired of bearing the brunt of moving the conversation forward. I'm asking a shit ton of questions, and before you know it, I run out of shit to ask about. And it's just like, what do we do now? Like, I can talk to you forever and over voice chat, but like texting, I'm gonna run out of shit to say. Like, do you have any questions for me? It's like they just
don't seem super engaged.
Yeah, but that happens with a lot. I mean, cis and trans. Like I've experienced that with both on like dating apps and stuff. And I'm just like, dude, can you please just carry the conversation just a little bit?
More fish in the sea.
That's true.
Just recognizing that that non-interaction, be like, okay,
and that's definitely one of
you're
the
a
reasons
busy
why
girl.
like I cut it off with that shit because I'm like, dude, I'm carrying this conversation. I'm trying to progress, and you're just like, here. She was super young. I make bad decisions and go after super young chicks. Sometimes she was like 23.
Well, then she's probably on Snapchat and Instagram and all the things.
And what I found out towards the end, she was like, she fresh off of a relationship. She was with somebody and she was only a month out from being broken up with this guy. And I'm like,
the fuck?
don't you need more of a break than that before? I'm very clear on my profile. I'm looking for a long-term relationship.
Yeah, totally.
Not here for that short-term bullshit. Like, I ain't got time for none of that mess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for something real.
Absolutely.
And I mean, girls love that and they respond to it, but then it's just a fucking pen pal. I'm just like,
keep going.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm
We battle the pen pal bullshit too.
okay.
And also, it's really hard to take a guy serious when he doesn't live in the same state as us.
Mm.
I even have guys talking to me from New York who I fly out to New York more than once a month, and they can't even come to Brooklyn from Queens.
Ooh.
I fly across the country, and you can't, like...
That's only like 5 stops away.
It's quite close.
Fucking
Yes.
Chad.
So, exactly.
Sorry, we call all guys that are douchebags, we call them Chad, and then we also
Chads.
call them 4-star guys.
Cool. Yeah, in high school, we called him bro chads.
Oh, yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Hey, bro. Hey, Chad.
We actually have an episode called Chad the Bro, so
That's hilarious. Yeah. Hey, we'd always be like, hey, look at all these bro chads around. So, awesome.
Cool. Well, I think we had a fucking spectacular
Yeah, we
podcast
covered
here,
a lot.
guys. It was a great
Bam.
episode. For sure. Everybody, please make sure to find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. We need more people to rate us 5 stars.
don't do that.
Just
fucking
makes it easier
4-star.
for everyone to find us on those platforms. Raises our rank. Also, please follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are posting. We are starting to post select full episodes on
Full
YouTube
episodes.
and Facebook, so you can take this on the road or just send easier links to your friends and family. We also do post a lot of shorter clips. And then we're gonna start posting, especially on Facebook. We want to generate a lot of conversation, so I'm gonna start posting a lot of like news stories on there that have to do with the trans community. For example, there was a recent story about a man who killed himself because he was being ridiculed for dating a trans woman. Like, that's definitely something I want shared out, and we should definitely talk about a lot more.
For sure.
But yeah, like we're here to build this community on all social platforms. So please follow us, do us a solid, give us some follows, and help us reach more people.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And thanks again to our guest today, Maddie. Thank you very much for
Thank you so much
coming and
for your
talking to
time.
us.
The pleasure is mutual. Thank you.
Good. And as always, guys, that's been Trans Talk for Men. I've been Eric.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Maddie.
Hey, there we go. Hey, now we got it. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Stay beautiful.